Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and this is somewhat of a meager attempt at trying to make some Forbidden Rite action work in not necessarily the exact same way other people have done it, with great success. I'm kind of trying to make Sire Shards a thing. I have wanted to do Sire Shards with something for, I don't know, quite a while now, because it's a pretty fun meme item. And it's definitely a bit low on the power scale at the moment, but either way, Forbidden Rite is a very strong skill when built appropriately, and so I thought, hey, there's some synergy there, maybe now's the time to do it. So Forbidden Rite is a skill that needs a lot of work to make work, because it deals a fuck ton of damage to yourself through chaos damage, and you either need to get a lot of chaos res, a lot of life recovery in various forms. So in this case, I've got plenty of recoup, life gain on hit from spells, and just plenty of life regen. Or you can go CI, and pretty popular methods are to do cast on crit with it, or like some necromancer corpse pact, I think it is, cast speed stacking, and they can get pretty damn expensive, but they can get extremely powerful. Forbidden Rite itself is a fairly mechanically strong skill for scaling. This version here that I'm trying with the old Sire Shards gives you an additional 4 projectiles if you socket the skill into the weapon, and that also shoots it out into a Nova. So for clear speed, it's actually been pretty damn nice, except for the fact that we just got a staff and we're running around like an idiot instead of shield charging or, really zooming or anything. But it's been okay. Like, the clear speed isn't bad. It's obviously occultist based for the explosions, so that's going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, but I've also built pretty heavily into the whole recoup mechanic. So I've got all of the recoup on the tree, bunch of life regen, some recoup on a ring, and that means that just about all of the damage I take, just from yourself, from the Forbidden Rite, gets recovered like just about immediately, and then on top of that, any damage incoming from other things gets recovered almost immediately as well. So it's a pretty fun mechanic to build around for a change, because I am somewhat thick. I've got 80 to 90% fizz damage reduction with determination, some armor, some other fizz reduction stacking, and also some endurance charges. And then you just have to try and not take too much damage, and you should be able to basically out-heal it, essentially, through the recoup mechanic. So it's become pretty thick, pretty tanky sort of map clearing beast, but so far nothing too special on the single target, because Sire Shards does make it a bit harder to get the overlap, since their skill does technically like shotgun or overlap its explosions with the more projectiles you have, and with Sire Shards you have to be like real up close and personal and inside the mob to get the proper overlaps, and even then sometimes they might not work too well. So you can see a decent example on a metamorph here. It does work out. If they move too much, it's not particularly good, and also it's going to be up to being on top of the enemy and your crits and all that, since I'm not 100% crit capped or anything like that. But overall it seems to be working out okay for a fairly, I wouldn't even call it that wacky, a fairly crap attempt at Forbidden Rite, because the good ones are really good from what I've seen. I haven't really seen too much, but I know that they can pull out billions of DPS, like 20, 30 million, something like that, and even more if you invest heavily, and the cast on crit versions are wildly successful as well. Whereas this version that I'm trying with the Sire Shards looks like it's mostly just going to be kind of for clear. I'm still going to try a few things out, and maybe can get it to a stage where it does something more single target wise. Maybe I'll have to swap out of Sire Shards, maybe I'll swap out of Staves in general, try some other shit, but the way I've built has kind of pigeonholed me into my kind of situation, so I can't really chop and change too quickly or easily, but regardless of that, I'm still going to try and save it a bit. If it's not too salvageable, then it's just a really good mapping character. Like, I could just chain maps and procs and bosses and shit, and call in another pretty strong character in the form of the flask throw to save the day. But for me, it won't really be too much of a success if it's a mapping character, just because it'll end up feeling kind of like Poison Spark earlier in the league, but with less single target. So Still really good clear, less single target, but this character's way thicker, so it's a bit of a trade-off there compared to the Poison Spark. Poison Spark had really good single target, really good clear, but it was squishy. So then if I fixed all those problems and made it the ultimate build, maybe it would have been. But you can see a decent example of single target here. It does something, but still something to be seen for the end game. We'll see if we have another video about this bit later. Either way, I'll show you real quick how I've built so far. So here's the character at the moment, level 90. Y'all got any of that Chaos Res? Because, you know, Forbidden Rite does a lot of chaos damage. You kind of need to cap your chaos res or deal with chaos damage somehow. And in this case, just Occultist gets you plenty. A bit on the passive tree, and a little bit on gear. So there's some chaos res there, there's some chaos res there. A little bit of chaos res there. It's not too hard to cap chaos in modern day PoE, especially as Occultist. But I haven't gone any further. You can go like even further and get my plus chaos res. Max chaos res, you can go like Divine Flesh to then have it's a timeless keystone from a jewel to get elemental damage taken as chaos. You can go pretty extreme with chaos sort of stuff, but at the moment this is what we're dealing with. And I kind of tried to build it through Sire Shards and kind of as a hybrid-y character, but I think the hybrid concept has kind of failed because my energy shield does next to fucking nothing at the moment. Like, I can't regen it very well, and I wanted to do max power charges and then also do Badge of the Brotherhood to utilize as many frenzy charges as possible. And while that kind of works, it's a bit of a fail because I'm using a chest with gain frenzy charge every 11 seconds, which with the charge mastery, since we are taking all the power charge crap, gives 100% duration. It does sustain by all means, but it's not that good of a sustain, especially when every time you use a travel skill you have a chance to lose a frenzy charge. And then boss fights have phases, zoning in and out, that sort of shit, and you start out with 0 charges. It gets a little bit awkward and uncomfortable to have these charges going up and down and shit. So we could maybe use a Dodri's Flask. I could maybe just re-gear my character, but I kind of needed a thick chest like this. But you can get a chest with frenzy charge on hit instead, and I might need to do that. We'll see. I just then looked at my POB, and supposedly if all the projectiles hit and overlap, which they should to a decent extent, then I'm dealing something like 7 to 8 million DPS, which should be good. So it's technically salvageable, and we'll see where we go from there. But as you can see, when we cast our attack, Forbidden Rite, shit seems to happen. We've got max endurance charges all of a sudden because I've gone down and spec'd into this, but I probably want to take that as a cluster instead from one of the armor notables. We'll see about that. Got power charges because power charges happen. And then basically, Forbidden Rite builds can do some cast and damage taken shit, because every single time you cast, you take some damage, and cast and damage taken at a low level will proc pretty reliably at that point. So we've got cast and damage taken attached to Eye Winter, Ball Lightning, Slow Proj, and Life Tap. So all of this is just going to cause a bit more life damage, since mana is pretty hard to sustain that way. And then with life gain on hit on a ring, life gain on hit from a Watcher's Eye over here, 29 over here, means that we've got quite a bit of extra sustain from these spells whenever we're shitting them out, just as a whole bunch of additional life to the build. But as you can see, pretty much whenever we take damage, it's recouping rather profusely, and as well as that, my mana is entirely sustained by my damage taken as well, thanks to a craft here, 6% damage taken recouped as mana, and also taking this just little mana wheel, and then the 10% damage taken recouped as mana. So similar to the other concepts, takes 4 seconds to recoup, and then once you start stacking it, it recoups more and more, or it catches up to itself. So you might be able to notice that as I start casting, I go but then it catches up, and once the 4 seconds is like kicked in on many different things, I basically sustain mana fairly comfortably. So here it goes, and now mana is sustained. So I got to kind of pre-fire a bit before bosses and stuff, and just constantly have some loop of getting damaged and recoup happening. But then when it works pretty damn nice. So the recoup on the tree is a bit over here, which currently feels really bad to path to, but I can't really justify anointing it because I need the max power charge, but maybe it's worth doing. So I might still end up cutting all of this and re-anointing this, or, you know, just learning to not have it. We'll have to wait and see. I've still got some build sort of finicky stuff to do. See how we go. But doing this recoup over here, and then it's scaled by life regeneration rate as well, I believe. And just some flat regen and all that. So I did some regen over there. And then using some regen on my chest, a bit of regen gloves, I think, using a stone golem, using a vitality. So in the end, we do have a decent amount of regen, 1200. And then with conch ground down, it's about 1400 or some shit. And we get that through this flask and also zealotry. And then, as you can tell, the damage taken starts to scale, the ramp sort of thing, because of this Pantheon over here, 1% additional fizz damage reduction for each hit taken recently. This Forbidden Rite counts as hits, so we do have that going. I don't know, could also do that one there. But anyway, basically this is just a rundown of the character. We're currently running Sire Shards with Forbidden Rite, pinpoint, so you start out with a few extra projectiles, but as you attack, cast more and more, you get less projectiles and they deal more damage. And in the end, I've got currently 5 projectiles when I'm at max intensify, crit damage, intensify, void manip, and crit strikes. So the main strength behind Sire Shards is not needing to run a GMP for extra projectiles. So you can just, you know, you start out and wherever you click, it's going to like kind of expand in a big way. So it's got really good AoE potential. And then if you click next to yourself, it tries to click next to you. And as you stack up your intensifier, you get less projectiles and you also get less area. As you should be able to kind of tell, there's now only 5 projectiles and the area on those projectiles is small. Whereas when you initially click, pretty big AoE. So I think it's nice for clear. Seems nice for single target potentially. We'll have to kind of see how that pans out. Then crafting a hat, you get additional Forbidden Rite projectile. Just try and get power charge, and then we tried to smash it together with a minus chaos. It didn't work out very well. Had to start again, and this is the resulting hat. Just going for the max power charge. Tried to get a spare ring with a bit of recoup and cast speed. Just paid like 100C for this thing, I think. Likewise with this thing, I think I could still do better, but tried to get cast speed and life gain and hit with spells. Gloves that have Unnerve and Chaos Leech, and then they're just temple gloves with the crit mod. Reusing a belt from previous characters, just a fuck ton of life regen, all that sort of shit. And then made my own new pair of boots. You know, just tried to get Tailwind on a boot, and then elevated it, and happened to get, you know, elevated Tailwind, and then just combined it with a Frenzy, and then, you know, had to take some YOLO nulls and stuff. And this is the resulting boot. Basically just 2 mods. The Tailwind and the Elusive, and then multi-modding around it. And yeah, it's okay. Like, the Elusive is only really useful if you're going to be doing Badge of the Brotherhood, and I am for now, but maybe not forever. We'll wait and see. It just depends if I can really feel good about the Frenzy Charge situation, because it does take a while to ramp in maps, but that's why I've also got Cold Snap. So just Cold Snap on a pack or 2 before you start attacking, and that basically gives you max frenzies when you start your map. And then it kind of sustains by itself, but it does still run out every now and again thanks to the flame dashing. So yeah, the frenzies are a bit annoying at the moment. Otherwise, what do we got? Stone Golem, Molten Shell, Arcane Surge, and Flame Dash. So basically, I've taken these nodes over here thanks to a Lethal Pride. I do need a lot of strength in my build just to get my chest on, so use a Lethal Pride and try to get something useful, and in this case, just some strength and then also double damage. So we've got 5% chance to double damage, 5% chance to double damage, and 5% chance to double damage. These nodes I wasn't planning on taking, but they are useful enough with the double damage that I decided to go for them. And then a 4 life over here. And it helps fix strength up, which is a large reason as to why I did that. Otherwise, with a totem, as always, got the Cold Snap, Determination, Vitality, and Zealotry over here. And I did have Knockback in the 6 link over here for cast and damage taken, which is cool for mapping and all, but on some boss fights, just in maps, you know, shitty little bosses, it's pretty annoying trying to get your overlap happening with your Sire Shards standing next to an enemy when you're constantly knocking them back with your other shit. So defensively for maps, not bad. I kind of like it. Offensively, pretty fucking bad. We'll see how things go. So that's the character so far, and once again, the character effect is from the new mystery box. Divergence character effect makes your entire character kind of purple, and then I built a little setup based around that, and this is the resulting outcome. So there it is, sort of a purpley Harmony Wings automaton ultimatum thing. That's the build for now, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.